listening to Unravel with Natalie Denise.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to Unravel with me, Natalie Denise. I hope you guys are having a good week so far. It feels like today's like Thursday or something. I'm gonna start already. For those of you that listen to me in the morning, it will be Thursday already, but I'm just saying, like, sometimes I get mixed up and I mix myself up, and I believe that the days are switched. I don't know why it just feels like so further on in the week. Maybe because I'm so busy. For those that watch me on a regular basis on YouTube, I am actually starting a membership site at my website, nataliedenise.com. And this is going to have it's going to be a mixture. So it's going to be like some controversial topics that are mainstream, that I can't necessarily talk in community standard guidelines on platforms like this, but I can talk about it freely. I mean, and it's really controversial stuff that they don't want you to talk about, including these topics right here. Sometimes I want to do a deep dive on some of these stories, and I already had a channel that was deleted called The Daily Traffic, in which they got me for bullying and hate speech, although, you know, I was just expressing my sentiments of these people that continually victimize the most vulnerable people in our society. So, with that being said, nataliedenise.com, if you want to support me, that is one way. You can either become a patron for $2 a month, where you will just support me, or you can get a membership for $8 a month, where it'll get you the exclusive videos. So if you're looking for a way to support me, anyway, what's up, chat? Let's take a look at you guys. What's up, hot chicks? The Only Warnley, Jerry Rice, Ken Moats, Dorian. What's up, Dorian? Jerry. Let's see, Mark. Cool. What's up? All right. Is it not Thursday? Stop. Don't do that. Don't do that, hot chicks. Said it's not Thursday? No, it's Tuesday. It's Tuesday. It's the top of the week. Okay. All right, let's get started on our broadcast today. Let's take a look at some of the stories that are out there. I'm going to actually start off with this one. I meant to cover this yesterday, but our stories, it just ran really late. I actually exited out. Oops. Let me get back to my screen here. Okay, here we go. Let me start out with this one right here. This is actually, it's not a trafficking story, but it's it's a mystery that's going on in around New York, and you won't hear about it anywhere else. My friend sent me to this last night, and she was like, did you take a look at this? And of course, there's so many stories that some of these just slip by. To be honest with you, there's so many stories. That's sad that there's so many stories. 75 children have recently gone missing from New York State. 75. We barely hit April. And there's already 75 children that are missing in New York State. That's wild. Help is needed finding 75 children who recently went missing from across New York State. Take a look and see if you recognize any of these children. Help is needed across New York State. Children have been reported missing in Dutchess, Putnam, Orange, Ulster, Westchester counties, as well as all over New York State. And of course, for those of you that are listening to me on audio podcast, you won't be able to see these images. But for those of you that are watching, you can take a look at these, especially if you're in the New York area. Actually, I'm gonna drop this link. So if you're in the New York area, you know anybody in the New York area, please circulate this link and see if they can recognize any of these children. There we go. So I posted the link in the comments. So we've got a 16-year-old Jade Riso. Nevaeh Joseph, 14 years old. Alicia Abreu, 15. Christian Aquino, 16 years old. Catherine Ventura, 15. Mariana Olekshin, 15. Jayla Ingram, 15. A lot of females. Amaya Williams, 15. Celia Craig, 17. Kiara Leon, 13. Look at all these faces. Conrad Bailey, 15 years old. Selena Hernandez, 15. And the list goes on and on and on. I put the link in my comments. Now, also for those of you that are listening to me on podcast, I'll also drop the link in the podcast as well. This is devastating. Like, this is a baby, 11 months old. How does an 11-month-old go missing? Missing since February. I mean, this is devastating. Nariah Smith, Onisha Davis, and it just goes on and on. There's 75, right? So of course, with the effectiveness of podcasts, obviously, again, you guys are not going to be able to see this. So I'll just drop the link, and you guys can, if you know anybody in New York, have any contacts in New York, if you are in New York, take a look at this page. I mean, things like this need to be published more often, because this is, 75 children. This should be the headline of today's news. Look at this. Look at this. A newborn. I'm sorry. I was going into something different. I apologize. That wasn't it. I'm sorry. I apologize. I thought that was another picture. But some other interesting facts coming out of this, the demographics. Excuse me. Let me get a little bit of tea because my throat's a little bit scratchy. All right, only because I've been talking so much. I don't feel sick at all. All right, so this is some interesting statistics. In California, 103 results. 102, my friend modified the search, and there's 102. If you go to missing and exploited children, there are 102 children in California that are currently missing. You know what? Actually, I think I'm going to incorporate this in my podcast, talking about the missing children, because this is we'll probably do this about once a month just to gather the statistics, because by day it probably doesn't change much. We probably won't know that, but we'll see how this transpires. 102 children in California are currently missing, age ranges from 0 to 17. Now, she gave me some statistics on the New York demographics, which suggests some other things as well. So in New York, so we're going to clock back to the New York case, right? 75 children are missing. In New York, these are the demographics. According to the most recent ACS, the racial composition of New York is 63.66% are white, 15.66% are Black or African American, 8.66% are other race, 8.42% are Asian, 2 or more races, so bi or triracial or more. That's 3.15%. Native American, 0.41%. And Native Hawaiian or Pacific Islander, 0.05%. So we're going to just say it's weird because usually Latinos are their own category, but I guess they categorize that into Caucasian, the race ethnicity in this category. Which is going to be also challenging, right? I think for meaningful statistics, for demographic, it's meaningful because what I'm trying to get to here is that these children seem to be targeted, right? When you scroll through these photos here, you see mostly, you do see Caucasian kids as well, but you see a lot more Latino and Black children, African American children, that are missing, which means, according to the demographics, excuse me, I'm sorry. According to the demographics, why is the ratio not accordingly? Because if there's more if there's more Caucasian by demographic, but these are all, you know, as you can see, these are a lot of Latinos and African American children. They are missing, and nobody wants to talk about it. Johanna Batista, Michaela Abreu, a baby, another young lady. You see what I mean? Like the demographics, as you can see, are very targeted, which is why I wish these demographics listed on this classification was more broken down, because you know, for instance, on job applications, you always get asked if you're white or Latino or Hispanic. So they're categorizing the Latinos with whites, which, you know, again, it makes it more harder to distinguish how they're targeting these children. But like I said, they are targeting these children by race, it seems to be. Look at that. Look at that. And this is not a top headline in the United States, you guys. Not at all. So this is in New York State. Again, you guys have the link. So please do circulate that link around to anybody that you know in New York, or any contacts you have in New York, or if you are in New York especially, please circulate that link around your community in New York. That's wildly insane that this right here is the epidemic. 75 children, the year isn't even halfway yet. It's crazy. All right. I missed this one. Gosh darn it. I have to search it now. Deutsche Bank. This was a good it was a good article on some CEOs at Dutch Bank that allegedly use their credit cards to go to strip clubs. Let me see. Dutch Bank, here we go. Dutch Bank. Strip clubs. I really want to read this story. I don't know why Daily Mail does that, where they refresh your page if it's if you don't use it long enough. All right, we'll do this. Let's go to history and let's do this. Shoot. Okay, I will look for this. I will look for this article meanwhile. But give me 1 second. Let me see what I can dig up. But this is, let me tell you guys about this article really quick. So Dutch Bank, Dutch Bank strip clubs. There were some CEOs that were using okay, let's do this. Google.com. Dutch Bank CEO executives strip clubs. They were using they were like basically indulging. Here we go. Got it. Found it. Boom. All right. Sorry for that little wait there. Sometimes they just like erase my page while I'm looking at it. It's crazy. All right. DailyMail.com. 4 Dutch Bank execs are fired for charging strip club visit to the company and then trying to cover up the night of lewd entertainment. Again, these are like the executives of our society. Perverse. And it reads, 4 New York-based employees of the financial powerhouse Dutch Bank have been fired after they allegedly tried to expense a night out at a strip club in violation of company policy. Ben Darcy, former of America's head of equity capital markets, was fired alongside Ravi Raghunathan, I believe, Brandon's son, and Daniel Gaona, after attempting to expense the night out as a legitimate restaurant visit, according to Bloomberg. Darcy, 40, had worked for Dutch Bank since 2010. He did not immediately respond to inquiry from DailyMail.com on Sunday. The Dutch Bank spokesman told DailyMail.com in a statement, Dutch Bank thoroughly investigates allegations of possible misconduct comprehensively and without bias. We do not condone violations of our code of conduct or a company policy, statement added. When required by the facts and circumstances, we take appropriate remedial action. And then the bank declined to comment further on the circumstances of the incident, but an insider told dailymail.com that there were no allegations of harassment involved in the incident and it was not related to business activity. Even going to a strip club with colleagues is a violation of Dutch bank's bank policy, and the error was allegedly compounded by attempting to expense the trip and then by efforts to cover up the incident. According to New York Post, Darcy and Raghunathan, the managing director who ran most of the bank's SPAC business, took colleagues and a client to an unidentified strip club on Friday. Others who were fired in the incident may have accused by trying to cover up the expense report. People got fired who weren't said at the said event, but lied and participated in the cover up, an insider told the Post. Everyone was very well regarded, which made it hard, the person added, of Dutch's decision to fire them. So with that being said, I'm not going to go any much further. It's not really that much more. But as you guys see, like, executives trying to charge off a strip club visit. And it's just such in poor taste. It's like, like, I know I can't change the world and, my values can't change the world, but it's just like, it's kind of weird seeing that executives in a group like that, that run very high levels of elite departments in the financial world are all together, like wanting to do perverse things like that together. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I'm just kind of grossed out by that story. But anyways, I had to share that with you guys because I just found that astonishing. All right. But moving on, let's go to justice.gov and take a look at some of the justice activity going on. This is coming from Florida. A cryptocurrency purchase of child pornography sends a Miami man to federal prison for 12 years. A 46-year-old Miami man who bought child pornography on the dark web. Again, the dark web, for those of you that don't know what it is a way of accessing a very dark corner of the web that is not accessible through www. It's not like that. You have to go through layers of security in order to access this part of the internet. And that's where the black market is. So you can buy things that are illegal, including humans. It's a very, very dark place on the internet. So he was purchasing child pornography on the dark web using cryptocurrency and has been sentenced to 151 months in federal prison to be followed by 30 years of supervised release. Adolfo Fernandez stored the child exploitation material on various electronics devices, and he kept them at his home, including over 2,000 pictures and 300 videos of minors being sexually abused. In addition to the purchased items, Fernandez also stored digital images that showed him in his living room engaged in explicit sex acts with a minor. On December 13, 2021, Fernandez pled guilty to one count of receipt of child pornography. Juan Antonio Gonzalez, U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Florida, and Anthony Salisbury, Special Agent in Charge at HSI Miami Field Office, announced the sentence that U.S. District Judge Beth Bloom imposed. All right, so so cryptocurrency, purchasing children online. The next one coming from justice.gov. This is coming from the Eastern District of New York. A Brooklyn man is charged with the production of child pornography. And the defendant allegedly targeted minors via Skype and convinced them to send him sexually explicit photos and videos of themselves. So again, social media, where these predators like to lurk and they like to trap individuals, children, into exploitation. A criminal complaint was unsealed today. Unsealed. That's always like a buzzword for me. Like that always, like, unsealed. What? Unsealed. A criminal complaint was unsealed today in federal court in Brooklyn, charging Stephen LaBianca with sexual exploitation of children. The charges relate to sexually explicit images and videos of children that the defendant requested and received from minors that he targeted on Skype. LaBianca was arrested in the morning and will make his initial appearance this afternoon before United States Magistrate Judge Lois Bloom. Breon Peace, United States Attorney for the Eastern District of New York, and Michael J. Driscoll, Assistant Director in Charge, Federal Bureau of Investigation, New York Field Office, announced the charges. As alleged, LaBianca preyed on minors online, developing a relationship with them, then exploiting them by enticing the victims to take sexually explicit photos and videos of themselves for the defendant's own personal gratification, United States Attorney Peace stated the United States Attorney Peace. Today's arrest underscores the importance of monitoring our children's internet activity and teaching them to say no to inappropriate requests in the real world and online. Fighting child exploitation is a priority for the DOJ, and the office will continue to make every effort to ensure that those who contribute to the victimization of children will be brought to justice. I'm just glad that there are some still people left. I know that these three-letter agencies, I know that they get so much scrutiny, and I totally understand. I get it, because there are a lot of bad people, but also within that mix there are some good people that are doing good work. And this gives me hope that there are actual people out there that want to take their job seriously and they want to actually bring these people to justice. So this is quoted. From the FBI Assistant Director in Charge, Driscoll. He said, the behavior in which we allege Mr. LaBianca engaged, soliciting and receiving sexually explicit images and videos from children as young as 13, is depraved, and it underscores the dangers children may face online. Stated FBI Assistant Director in Charge Driscoll said, the action we've taken today will ensure Mr. LaBianca faces justice for his crimes, but our investigation continues. And they are saying that if anybody has any information about the case, to call or put tips at tips.fbi.gov. As set forth in court filings, LaBianca was using Skype, a Skype account with the account name Original Geek, and an Instagram account with the account name Halls Rope Faster, with 2 R's at the end. Between 2017 and February 2021, LaBianca allegedly engaged in a series of sexually explicit Skype communications with at least 8 underage victims, 13 to 17, who lived within the United States and abroad. LaBianca directed the victims to perform sexual acts while participating in video calls. LaBianca also directed the children to take nude photos and videos of themselves and send them to him. Several victims did in fact send sexually explicit photos and videos to LaBianca. If convicted of sexual exploitation of a child, LaBianca faces a mandatory minimum sentence of 15 years imprisonment. The charges of the complaint are allegations, and the defendant is presumed innocent unless proven guilty. All right. So yet another example of, predators prowling on the internet and, looking out specifically for your children to then victimize them later and exploit them. All right. Let's go to this one here. The next story coming from Fox 26 Medford. A South Oregon child exploitation team case leads to suspect who allegedly victimized girls across the country. This is, again, from Oregon. A man from Illinois is behind bars for allegedly sexualizing and victimizing 29 underage girls across the country, including Southern Oregon. The Jackson County Sheriff's Office said in May of 2020, a Rogue Valley mother told investigators her minor daughter was coerced into sending nude photos to an unknown suspect via Facebook. Detectives said that if they eventually determined the local girl wasn't the suspect's only victim, they were reportedly at least 29 other minor child victims throughout the United States and Canada. The suspect, identified as 43-year-old Michael Anthony Ferris of Mill Shoals, Illinois, is currently incarcerated in Illinois for numerous charges. These include extortion, distribution of child pornography, and cyber stalking. Ferris reportedly used a number of different names on Facebook and Facebook Messenger, including Sammy Gray and Sarah Mansfield. Investigators said that they believe Ferris may have other victims. Again, this is in Oregon, but it also happened cross national. So anyone with further information is asked to call their local law enforcement agency or Jackson County Sheriff's Office tip line at 541-774-8333. All right. All right. So this one is coming from current.com. Current.com. A man who brought out an out-of-state victim to Connecticut pleads guilty to sexual exploitation of a child. A Danbury man pleaded guilty Tuesday to a charge of sexual exploitation of a child, according to federal authorities. Wayne Narcell of Danbury, he's 36 years old, entered a plea before the U.S. District Judge Victor A. Bolden in Bridgeport, according to federal authorities. Federal authorities said in a statement that Narcell paid an individual $2,000 to drive a minor victim from Texas to Illinois. That is scary. Then he drove from Connecticut to Illinois to pick up the minor victim, brought her to his home in Danbury. Narcell engaged in multiple illicit sexual acts with the child and took photos and videos of the abuse, authorities said in a statement. Prior to the victim arriving in Connecticut, she was in Georgia and met Robert Fike of Lubbock, Texas, on online video chat platform, federal authorities said in a statement. Citing court documents that the statements made in court, Fike used Keek and other social media platforms to communicate with the victim, and in May of 2021, he drove from Texas to Georgia, picked up the child victim, drove her back to Lubbock, and then Fike, the man, produced sexually explicit images of the victim, federal authorities said in a statement. I mean, sick. And poor girl, like being victimized through multiple men like that. Narcell has been held since his arrest on related state charges on June 23rd, 2021. At sentencing, which is yet to be scheduled, Narcell faces a mandatory minimum prison term of 15 years and a maximum of 30, federal authorities said. Fike pleaded guilty to the related charge in Northern District of Texas and said on December 16, 2021, they say that he was sentenced to 30 years in prison, according to federal authorities. Now, this was investigated by the Homeland Security of Investigations with the assistance of the U.S. Marshal Service and Danbury Police Department federal authorities. I mean, whoa, that is sick. We think that it keeps getting like worse every single time. Let me see. Let's take a look here. We got the next one coming from Canada. I know I got some Canadian listeners here. Hamilton Elementary School staff a member is facing child pornography charges. This is coming from cbc.ca. We're not foreign from seeing teachers a lot on these stories. It's just additionally more sick. An educational assistant at St. Anne Catholic Elementary School in Hamilton is facing charges after police say they found evidence of child pornography involving a victim under the age of 6 years old. Involving a victim under the age of 6 years old who attended Barrett Street School. This is an elementary school. Police say they began investigating after receiving a tip from the National Child Exploitation Crime Center. A search warrant was executed near the end of March, and police say they found evidence of child pornography on computer devices. A 49-year-old man was arrested at the school on Monday, according to investigators. Police say that he is also a scout leader. They believe there could be more victims. Pat Daly, chair of the Hamilton Wentworth Catholic District School Board, said It's shocked and deeply disturbed by the charges and continue to keep those impacted on with thoughts and prayers. The educational assistant was immediately put on unpaid leave. HWCDSB confirmed to CBC in an email the board is cooperating with police and providing support to the students and staff, including through its Compassionate Care Crisis Response Team, Daly said. A similar message was shared in a letter to the school community from Daly and St. Anne principal Tina Fricano on Tuesday morning. Asked if the HWCDSB is undertaking its own review of how the situation could have happened, the said agency said, our own investigation will be paused until the criminal investigation is completed. How? Why? And maybe they can append more details to that. I always have criticism. I'm sorry. I apologize. The board said that it won't be commenting further as the case before the courts. Scouts Canada said that the Hamilton man had been a volunteer since 2000, but a membership has been terminated. Our volunteers and staff are required to complete rigorous training and police screening procedures before they are allowed to work with youth, wrote Callie Canoza, Director of Organizational Planning for Scouts Canada, in an email. Okay, wait. So this was the Boy Scouts? I'm confused. She added that the accused had met all of those requirements. Canoza said that the police did not contact Scouts Canada during its investigation and have indicated that the charges are not connected to the scouting. Paul Goodman is charged with the possession of child pornography, making child pornography, and making child pornography available, according to police. The Hamilton Police Service Internet Child Exploitation Unit continues to relentlessly pursue offenders who are engaged in the online sexual exploitation of children. Read a media release announcing their arrest. Okay, so I got a little confused because this was an educational assistant. Oh, okay. It was this part right here that I read it too fast, I guess. I didn't ingest it as fast. But not only was he a school assistant, he was also a scout leader. I didn't catch that part. That is completely sick. I mean, again, they like to dip their presence in all these industries that have anything to do with children. All right. So let's take a look at this next one. A spa owner, this is from CebuDailyNews.Inquirer.net, and this is coming from the Philippines. A spa owner is arrested for alleged human trafficking, and 11 victims were rescued. In Cebu City, Philippines, at least 4 individuals, including an owner and manager of a massage and spa chain in Metro Cebu, are now facing human trafficking charges. This is after the National Bureau of Investigation in Central Visayas recently conducted a simultaneous anti-trafficking operations in the Regional Interagency Council Against Trafficking in Cebu City and Talisay City. During a press conference Tuesday, April 5th, NBI-7 announced that they rescued a total of 11 masseuses and therapists and arrested 4 suspects in the following operations. Law enforcers on March 31st raided the branches of the McShield Spa Massage in Barangay Tabanak, Talisay, and Barangay Labagan, Cebu City, after they received reports that the establishment allegedly forced their employees to do extra service. The suspects were identified as Mark Billacura and the owner and proprietor of McShield Spa, John Lord Billacura, the manager and receptionist Jessica, and Marisol Tapacio. So they were hidden in plain sight, and they were able to rescue 11 victims of this. And there's one more story that I just saw right here. Give me 1 second. One moment. California. Okay, let's take a look at this. Here we go. Okay, so this is legislation. All right, this is coming from turn223.com. Human trafficking survivors push for bill to create stricter penalties for human trafficking. Dozens of human trafficking survivors and advocates from up and down the state of California push for a bill that would create stricter penalties for human trafficking. And you guys know that in California, everything is really it's like upside down world out there. They're trying to legalize lower penalties for people who want to do you know what I mean, like they want to lower penalties for statutory rape, saying that certain people get lower penalties or what. But anyway, with that being said, they're trying to pass this bill. The bill will achieve this started in Kern County. Every case is different, but the moment the bill states on average people can serve from up to 12 or 20 years in prison for human trafficking, depending on the trafficking includes sexual conduct or a minor. But law enforcement officials and victims say it's not enough. And we're saying it's not enough either, right? Like, we've seen so many times where these traffickers get light sentences and slaps on the hand. The first trafficker that broke her jaw is actually free. The second trafficker that my daughter testified against could be out in 3 years. I strongly believe that you should pass this bill so other families I work alongside do not have to go through what I went through, said Sylvia. Sylvia was just one of many who went up to give her support. For her, it was personal as her daughter was a victim at just 13 years old. The average age for human trafficking victims is 11 to 14 years old. Odessa Perkins, human trafficking survivor from Kern County, who is now an intervention counselor, also spoke about what this bill could mean for victims. Maybe if I felt safe, I would have reported it. Don't I and all victims that are all coming after me deserve to be free? And that's true, because they actually still come out of trauma bond after they are free. And it's more traumatizing when the system lets these people out, because it's like, you always have to fear for your life. You always have to fear for your safety. And they ought to be free. And these people should be off of the streets. Under California law, serious and violent offenses include crimes such as kidnapping, rape, and threats, among many others. But human trafficking is not under a lengthy list. If this bill is passed, not only would human trafficking be legally considered a violent and serious offense, but this means a trafficker case could also be under a three-strike law. Historically, three strikes law was that if you had certain crimes that you committed, specifically crimes of violence, after the third strike, it was a life in prison sentence, said Dustin Contreras, co-director of Kern Coalition Against Human Trafficking. Contreras said that the law was already been trimmed down in California, but it would help them deter traffickers, despite the countless supporters like Contreras and his organization. There was some that opposed it. For instance, some who had opposed it. These people at Free to Thrive organization said victims and survivors of human trafficking are more often misidentified as perpetrators and arrested for human trafficking. Therefore, this bill will hurt victims and survivors, and it will not prevent traffickers from recruiting, grooming, and trafficking more victims while prior victims are out in long sentences on their behalf. Contreras said that he sees arguments against it, but does not believe that it oversteps the penal code. Well, for that, I get it, but that's where the law enforcement training needs to come in. Where they identify who's who, whether you're a victim or if you're a madame and you're actually recruiting, things like that. So, I think this goes hand in hand with education. So that should also be like a prerequisite to all that. But with that being said, guys, we have reached the end of our newscast today with all the trafficking headlines. Man, this was a lot. Tomorrow you have to talk about something good in the news, at least one good story. I don't know, man. This podcast is dedicated to human trafficking, and as hard as it is to listen to, we need to talk about these stories. That's why I'm dedicating the full hour from now on. I know that you can go to my YouTube, youtube.com/NatalieDenise. I've got some stories that are, but there's a lot of bad going on, and we've got to cover this on this podcast. We have to. I mean, I know I could talk about a plethora of other things, but this is very important to me, especially that a lot of people are not talking about this. We started off with that story with 75 children. 75 children in New York State are missing. 102 in California are missing. We haven't even dealt the numbers for all the other states, but it's barely April, and hundreds of, not thousands of children are missing. So anyway, with that being said, this stuff has to be talked about. So yeah, I'm sorry. But this is the podcast, and this is what we have to spread to the world. These are the headlines that need to be talked about, because they're not. But guys, I appreciate all of your support regardless. Please check out NatalieDenise.com. I just started a membership service, or a membership subscription. I will be posting videos there more often. These are going to be videos that I cannot talk about in the mainstream platforms, things that have to do with trafficking and exploitation, but also other controversial topics that the mainstream definitely doesn't want you to see. So NatalieDenise.com, that's NatalieDenise.com. Go sign up as a member. And guys, I love you so much. Thank you so much for your support. I'm going to catch you guys tomorrow in another episode. Rest easy. Have a great day. If you are listening to me in the morning time, I'll catch you guys later. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Unravel with Natalie Denise. Please give this podcast 5 stars.